Well, happening now, Blue Jays President and CEO Mark Shapiro is holding an end-of-season news conference following the Blue Jays' disappointing season. Let's listen.
I support the decision, and it's one he'll comment more on when he meets with you today.
I don't disagree with you in terms of the overall player development and changes. I mean, you've been here for a long time, but you are making a lot of changes this specific offseason, especially with the coaching staff all the way down to player development. You guys are now 9 years in. Why this year? Why are you doing that now as opposed to looking more at the front office itself?
Yeah, each year we go through a process of reflecting. Again, I'm not evaluating the player development system and the major league coaching staff. That's not directly my responsibility. I know those changes were made with an effort to improve areas we felt we need to get better. You know, on the player development side, specifically our pitching development and our pitching acquisition at the amateur level. And on the Major League coaching staff, those obviously the changes directly correlate with the two biggest challenges we had on the team this year. So I don't view those to be out of the ordinary for any year. And I think, again, those questions will be better answered by Ross.
Ben?
Hey, Mark. Ben Nicholson-Smith, Sportsnet. You mentioned earlier that this past season is not work that you're proud of as a front office. I guess what specifically are you not proud of?
On the baseball side.
Right. I'm talking about the team. So what specifically, as far as team building, are you not proud of, and what would you want to see change going forward?
Win. You know, I mean, Ben, it's not like a mystery. You know, we objectively thought that we had a team that was good enough to win the American League East and play in the postseason. And, I can't think of a bigger disconnect from expectations in the time that I've been here. You know, the expectations going into the season, which are not just anecdotal and gut-based expectations. They're based on some real information and real track records of players. But to have that underperform so resoundingly, collectively as a group, is extremely tough to accept and to swallow.
So results-wise, that makes sense. And then process-wise, are you proud of the process, or when you talk about not being proud of the season, does that extend to process at all?
Well, the process is what contributes to the results, so it's got to get better. It's got to change, and we got to learn from it.
Rob?
Rob Longley, Toronto Sun and Post Media. Mark, you just mentioned that you need to be more thoughtful, and the team needs to be more thoughtful in how it produces runs. After a season in which really you reached historic lows in that department, how do you go about that, and does it speak to maybe some mistakes in approach over the past couple of years?
Yeah, I think it warrants some real reflection on the way we're putting the team together and combining talent. Again, that's not my direct responsibility, and I think Ross can probably comment more specifically on that, but throughout my conversations, and certainly I'm watching the same games as he is and you are, and it's just as frustrating for me knowing the amount of talent we have and thinking we should be scoring more. So we've got to take a long look at that. That's a process of doing a few things. One, evaluating this year. Two, evaluating our alternatives internally and our alternatives externally, and that's part of the process of putting an off-season plan together. But certainly learning from the past few seasons and some of our offensive disappointment is one of the things that we're seeking to do now. We have already all that work's already underway.
And for a while now, Vlad Guerrero Jr. has been seen as sort of the cornerstone of this franchise. Do you still view him that way, and how do you make that? How do you go about continuing to have him be that?
Yeah, I think Vladdy is a guy we certainly appreciate both the performance, what he brings to this team, in the clubhouse, as well as energy and his positivity. Certainly our core offensive player, without a doubt. I'm looking forward to him being a big part of us turning around the offense next year and being a better team, a championship caliber team next year. No short of gratitude and appreciation for that.
Shai?
Mark, you've in the past talked about the value of stability. You've mentioned here need for learning, for change. But I'm wondering, how can change happen with out some additions of different perspectives, how are you going to ask people who have done things a certain way to suddenly deviate and proceed forward on a different path?
Yeah, I think it isn't necessarily different, not valuing different perspectives. We're going to certainly get those, whether it's, potentially adding people to the front office, whether it's elevating and asking other people to give opinions that, may not have voiced their opinions in the past. But I think it's not necessarily just, who the people are, Shai, but how they contribute and how their information is, and then the process that we go through putting the information together to make a decision. So, I think the framework that we use to make decisions, how we weight information, both internally and externally, all those things we can learn from the way we've done that in the past.
Given your experience, what is that process of evaluating the way you guys go all about that? Because if I'm listening to what you're saying, you're kind of reflecting on how much do we need to change here, and there's people are always can be reluctant to change, or maybe they can't because skill sets aren't there. Like how does meaningful change happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it starts with we've got to be open-minded, and I really do believe the group of people we have down there are not entrenched in their beliefs. We are reconsidering everything. We're being thoughtful about, where the shortcomings have been. There had been a lot of success here over the last 5 years. It doesn't feel like that in this moment because it was so tough to watch what we watched both this year and certainly in the last few weeks as it got even worse. But those same people, built a very good baseball team over the past 4 years prior to this. So we need to be open-minded. We need to completely reconsider the things we're doing. And I think that aspect of our organization is in place. There's no one here that thinks they have it all figured out. There's no one here that's not open-minded enough to reconsider the way we go about building a team and putting a team together. And that starts with Ross. He models that open-mindedness, and it really is pervasive throughout the organization. So I don't have any worry about that.
We've been listening to a live press conference down at the Rogers Center, listening to Blue Jays president and CEO Mark Shapiro holding his end-of-season news conference following a very disappointing Blue Jays season. We'll have more on what was said throughout the morning and afternoon.